With the lawsuit, obviously, you don't know how people are going to react. So, from your perspective, what has been the reaction that you've gotten this week?
I feel like the reaction's all been positive on our end. Of course, I think that you know, uh, my Jordan, he sent me an awesome clip from the Moneyball where I think John Henry's saying, the first one through the wall always gets bloody, but in the end, it's because you're threatening, status quo, and you're threatening people's jobs and things like that. And I just hope that it's not seen that way. Just seeing that this is certainly an opportunity for us to try to promote change in the sport that's positive for everyone, and that's teams, drivers, fans, everyone. And so I feel like certainly on our end, it's actually been good for me, because this is not like we just decided one day we woke up and this is going to happen. This has been on the plate for a while, and certainly from my standpoint, it allows me actually more relief to focus on the 11 car and everything I've got to do there, because it's out and it's done, and now there's other people able to speak upon it from the legality standpoint.
Bob Hockris, Fox Sports. How do you win a championship when you're suing NASCAR?
I think it's pretty simple. You just got to prepare the best that you can and do the best job that you can.
The NASCAR world is in turmoil as 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports escalate their legal battle against the racing giant. This isn't just another spat between teams and the governing body. It's a fight that could reshape the entire landscape of stock car racing. At the heart of this conflict is NASCAR's charter system, introduced in 2016. This system was supposed to provide stability and guaranteed revenue for teams, but now it's become a major point of contention. 2311 Racing, co-owned by NBA legend Michael Jordan and NASCAR driver Denny Hamlin, along with FRM, refused to sign the 2025 charter agreement. Why? They claim it's unfair and monopolistic. This refusal led to an antitrust lawsuit against NASCAR and its CEO Jim France, filed in October 2024. The teams aren't pulling any punches. They've called NASCAR and France monopolistic bullies in their legal filings. That's some strong language, and it shows just how heated this situation has become. But wait, there's more. In a surprising turn of events, the judge overseeing the case has been replaced. U.S. District Judge Frank D. Whitney, who initially denied the team's request for a preliminary injunction, is out. Judge Kenneth D. Bell is now in charge. The reason for this change? It's unclear, adding another layer of intrigue to an already complex situation. With the new judge in place, 2311 and FRM are taking another shot at getting a preliminary injunction. They want to compete as chartered teams in the 2025 season without signing the agreement. NASCAR, for its part, isn't taking this lying down. They've fired back, calling the lawsuit frivolous and accusing the teams of manufacturing evidence. NASCAR argues that any harm to the teams is self-inflicted because they chose not to sign the agreement. In their latest court filing, NASCAR stated, even with their manufactured evidence, plaintiffs still fall far short of a clear showing of irreparable harm. Their new submissions underscore that any claimed harm remains speculative, self-inflicted, and redressable with monetary damages. But 2311 and FRM aren't having it. They're accusing NASCAR of blaming victims for asserting their antitrust rights. The teams argue that they'll suffer irreparable harm if they can't compete as chartered teams. And here's where it gets even more interesting. FRM claims that NASCAR is playing hardball with charter transfers. Jerry Freese, FRM's general manager, said in an affidavit that NASCAR is refusing to approve their purchase of a charter from Stewart-Haas Racing unless they drop the lawsuit. Freese stated, specifically, NASCAR informed us that it would not approve the charter transfer unless we agreed to drop our current antitrust lawsuit against them. If true, this could be a significant development in the case. The stakes are high for everyone involved. If 2311 and FRM can't compete as chartered teams, they'll have to race as open teams. This means they're not guaranteed entry to all races and won't receive the same financial benefits as chartered teams. It could seriously impact their ability to attract sponsors and retain top drivers, but the implications go far beyond just these two teams. This lawsuit could fundamentally change how NASCAR operates. It's challenging the very structure of the sport, questioning how revenue is shared and how teams are treated. Key figures in this drama include Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin from 23XI Racing, Bob Jenkins from FRM, and on the NASCAR side, CEO Jim France and President Steve Phelps. Each of these individuals plays a crucial role in how this situation unfolds. Let's look at how we got here. The charter system was introduced in 2016, but tensions have been building for years. After 2 years of unsuccessful negotiations, NASCAR set a deadline of September 2024 for teams to sign the new charter agreement. When 23XI and FRM refused, the lawsuit was filed in October. The first request for a preliminary injunction was denied in November, leading to the current situation where the teams are making a second attempt. Reactions to this ongoing battle have been mixed. Denny Hamlin, known for his outspoken nature, tweeted cryptically in response to NASCAR's latest legal filing saying, "Well-hidden tweet. It's clear there's more going on behind the scenes than we're privy to." Steve Lauletta, president of 23XI Racing, has strongly denied NASCAR's accusations of manufacturing evidence. He stated, "This is completely false," referring to NASCAR's claims of a coordinated effort to create the appearance of harm. So what's next? There are several possible outcomes. There could be a settlement that modifies the charter agreement to address the team's concerns. If the court rules in favor of the teams, it could force NASCAR to make significant changes to its business model. On the other hand, if NASCAR prevails, it could strengthen their position and potentially discourage future challenges. Regardless of the outcome, this lawsuit is likely to have long-lasting effects on NASCAR's governance and its relationships with teams. It's a pivotal moment in the sport's history, and the results could shape stock car racing for years to come. As this legal battle continues, fans, sponsors, and other teams are watching closely. The outcome could affect everything from how races are structured to how money flows through the sport. It's a complex situation with no easy answers, but one thing is clear. The world of NASCAR will never be the same after this. This isn't just about two teams fighting against NASCAR. It's about the future of stock car racing in America. Will the current system stand, or are we on the verge of a major shakeup? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, this story is far from over. The implications of this lawsuit extend far beyond the courtroom. Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi, respected motorsport journalists, have discussed the potential fallout. In a recent exchange, Gluck asked, "What do you think? Could be the worst outcome for the sport as a result of this? Like, could it fracture like IndyCar?" Bianchi's response was sobering. He drew parallels to the open-wheel war of the 1990s, which had devastating consequences for IndyCar racing. When you saw the open-wheel war in the 90s and what that did for that series and open-wheel racing in this country, he said, highlighting the potential for a similar fracture in NASCAR. This comparison is particularly alarming when you consider the history. The IndyCar split in the 1990s led to a significant decline in the sport's popularity, allowing NASCAR to become the dominant motorsport in the US. Could we be looking at a similar scenario for NASCAR? Bianchi elaborated on this worst-case scenario. I mean, the worst case I think is fairly obvious. I think it's a split, like you see some kind of fracture. Where a handful of teams decide to leave NASCAR and go form their own series or just leave the sport altogether, and NASCAR loses a huge group of notable teams. Such a split could have catastrophic consequences for NASCAR. It could lead to a rival series, potentially drawing away teams, drivers, and sponsors. As Bianchi put it, all of a sudden you're looking at how do we fill our grid, and then you've got this other rival series, and in a sport that is trying to grow and feels like it's got a runway to do that, it would completely fracture it, and I think it plays out very much like IndyCar. Despite these dire predictions, it's worth noting that, as of now, 23XI Racing and FRM are still planning to race in 2025. In fact, they're actively recruiting drivers for the upcoming season. 23XI Racing has announced Riley Herbst as its third driver for 2025, joining Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick. Steve Lauletta, 23XI team president, stated, "As 23XI enters our fifth season next year, we felt the time was right to continue the growth of our organization by adding a third team, and Riley is a driver we think will be a great fit for us." Meanwhile, FRM plans to field two Ford Mustang Dark Horse teams full-time in 2025, with Noah Gragson in the number 4 car and Todd Gilliland in the number 34. However, their plans hinge on the outcome of this legal battle and the charter situation. The charter transfer controversy with Stewart-Haas Racing adds another layer of complexity to this situation. Joe Custer, president of SHR, provided an affidavit detailing the planned sale of charters to 2311 and FRM. He wrote, Stewart-Haas Racing LLC has sold one NASCAR charter agreement and has executory contracts to sell 2 more NASCAR charter agreements and related assets to Front Row Motorsports Inc. Tennessee Corporation and 2311 Racing LLC, a North Carolina limited liability company, or their affiliated assignees. Custer's affidavit also revealed the extent of SHR's preparations for these sales. In anticipation of consummating these sales transactions in the first 2 weeks of December, Stewart-Haas Racing, LLC has taken many material and irretractable actions to wind down its operations and cease doing business by December 31st, 2024. A settlement seems like the most likely outcome, but even that could have significant implications. Any changes to the charter system would affect all teams, not just 2311 and FRM. It could reshape the financial landscape of NASCAR for years to come. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel to stay updated on upcoming content.